Remember, they try to destroy your history because they want to unmoor you from your country. They have a purpose. They don't care about our founding or founders or anything like that. They're trying to blank slate history so they can create a new ugly future. But we're going to keep talking about our wonderful history here, including about George Washington with my buddy Jarrett Stepman. He wrote a book about this, The War on History, which you really should read that book if you want to learn what these people are doing and why. Okay, Jarrett, let's begin with George Washington, the man. You've forgotten more about him than I will ever know. The floor is yours. What kind of guy was this?
Yeah, I think Henry Lighthorse Harry Lee said it best: first in war, first in peace, first in the hearts of his countrymen. I think he absolutely and rightly deserves the moniker father of his country. I think he's one of the greatest of men, not just in American history, but I think in all world history, not just for the accomplishments that he had during his own day, but for setting up the grand federal republic that we have today. Its success over the last 2 centuries, much of it can be credited to the indispensable man of the American Revolution, and that man was George Washington. Even in an era that produced so many great heroes, he stood above almost everybody. In fact, I would say he did stand above everybody during that time, and we have every reason to celebrate him today.
Can you explain what made him different? Because he very clearly was different. He was kind of chosen to lead as almost a no-brainer, right? It was, of course, it's going to be George Washington. It's hard to find somebody even back then so universally respected. These guys, lots of these guys hated each other, Adams and Jefferson and all these types, but everybody respected George Washington. Why?
George Washington was a man. He was a man who early in his life, I think, demonstrated that he was incredibly courageous, that he always took leadership and responsibility. When things really hit the fan, so to speak, people knew that George Washington would be the one taking responsibility. He was fearless in the face of gunfire. He was fearless in what he had to do. He knew that when he had a job to be done, he did it, and he did it unflinchingly. I think Americans responded to that kind of leadership. They knew that, look, George Washington wasn't necessarily the most brilliant or high IQ of the founders. I think he was a very smart man. But what he demonstrated, which was courage and leadership, were rare qualities. He was not just brave himself, he made other men brave. And I think that people respond to that, and they responded to Washington as kind of the adult in charge, the man who people looked to when things were bad. And people recognize that. They recognized that in his personality from a young age, and it came out during the American Revolution when he was needed most.
Yeah. What about slavery, though? Didn't he have slaves?
And that's, of course, the primary attack on George Washington today. It's interesting, given the fact that George Washington, at the end of his life, released his slaves, trying to set a precedent for the future of the United States. I think the idea that George Washington, a man from over 2 centuries ago, would uphold the kind of ideas of today, which is funny because a man like George Washington is the reason why we have these ideas today, that slavery isn't a good thing. I mean, it was that founding generation who set that in works, that slavery would ultimately be abolished, not just here in the United States, but across the globe. It was because of George Washington's success in the American Revolution, the creation of the United States, a country that was founded on the Constitution, on the Declaration of Independence, that the institution of slavery could be gone forever. It's funny now to go back in history and try to proactively or retroactively cancel George Washington for something that ultimately he and the Constitution that he built are responsible for. So I find it amazing that George Washington today is now under question because of that over 2 centuries later.
You want to watch our special on George Washington? It's freaking awesome. Well, you can. All you have to do is become a First TV supporter. That gives you access to all of our specials on demand, and it's cake. All you have to go to is thefirsttv.com/support. Thefirsttv.com/support. Become a supporter. Enjoy learning about George Washington.